Oh, you got your other apps closed up? No. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakat, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And we out here once again. We're gonna go right into it. Got a couple of precepts that we want to get into. And as the title is, right, what's I forgot what it was. Something about what we got coming, right? What we got coming. You know. So ultimately we're gonna start at Revelation 21 because now we're starting to get towards the nearing, all right, of these prophecies. Right? Remember that the prophecies don't stop at just the MOTB, right? The mark of the beast or World War III. Those are major prophecies that will lead up to the return of the Lord Yahweh Shai. But then there's a new chapter that begins when Yahweh Shai comes back, right? People think of the day of judgment and they think of everything just that the whole world just gets destroyed. That's not in the scriptures. The whole world will not be destroyed. All right, that's not biblical. But what is going to happen is you're going to have the world in the sense of an age or an eon. Actually, let's start with that in Second Esdras, I think it's 6 and 9. All right, you're going to have this age that's going to come to an end. All right, and this age consists of this way of living, right? This perverse ideology of what they call life, which is not, right? It's really death. There you go. Shalom.
Yabashim Yashar Brakatam.
Yeah, Bashem Yashai Brakatah. Nice.
You all right?
Yeah. Audio is good. Yeah, so basically, that age is going to come to an end and a new one is going to start. And that new one is what we got coming. Because right now in this age, you got the Edomites that are the ones who are ruling. They're basically in their dominion. Just like, in the ancient world, you had different the Persians, right? You had the Assyrians, the Egyptians. They all had their age where they were the dominant force on the earth. Well, the kingdom of heaven is just going to be similar, but different in the sense that the dominant force on the earth is going to be the Israelites, right? Starting with the Heavenly Father, Bahasham Yahushai, and then the rest of the Israelites, the rest of the nation of Israel. And that's what we're going to go into because that's what's coming. That's the transition. That's the real new world order that's coming into place. Okay, a new age in which things are going to be in a righteous and prosperous order. So let's start with our Second Ezra 6 and 9, and then let's jump to Revelation 21.
This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 6, verse 9, and it reads, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth."
Right. So Esau is the end of the world, the end of this age. Now, if you look at Esau's rule, in terms of like the major power structures, when he came up into power as the Greeks, in terms of the world superpowers, he's sort of been in rulership or in control for the most part of it up until now, right? Because you had the Greeks starting with Alexander that took down the Persians, but then after the Greeks came who? The Romans, which were also Edomites. Now you did have a brief period in there where you had Israelites that took over, but it wasn't our dominion, it wasn't our kingdom, it wasn't our world. It was still Esau's world. He was just in subjection for a period of time. And then he came back up into power again, right, during the Renaissance era as the Spaniards, right, the Spanish, the French, the British, and then up all the way up until now, they've sort of been that in that power seat. So Esau has led up until the end of this world, the end of this age, okay? And what's coming next is going to be Jacob, who are the Israelites. So just as Esau took over after the Persians, we're going to take over after the Edomites. It's not going to be China. It's not going to be Russia. It's not going to be BRICS. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be the Israelites. Okay, and Yahweh Shai is going to be the one that's going to usher that in. Because he's going to come in. That's why I said he's going to come and make war. How does one nation or one power structure transition to another? It was 9 times out of 10 through war, right? You would have one country or one nation come up against the dominant force, and they would take them down, and they would become the next world superpower. Well, that's the same thing that's going to happen now. right? You're gonna have your Yahushua come, and he's gonna take down this beast, this power system, and then he's gonna be, and his governing body are gonna be the next world superpower for all eternity. So now let's go to Revelation 21.
This is the book of Revelation 21 and 1, and it reads, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away."
Right, a new heaven and a new earth. Now, what the Apostle John saw wasn't necessarily an entirely new planet, even though they are, but it wasn't an entirely new planet. Okay, the word new in the Greek here is kainos, which means refreshed or rejuvenated. So what the Apostle John saw was the same planet, the same earth, because we know, pursuant to the book of Ecclesiastes, that the earth is going to abide forever, right? That's what the scriptures tell us. So he saw a refreshed earth, right? The earth going back to a paradise. The same way the earth started as a paradise, and then it got changed and made weak and small and unrecognizable to where it is now. Well, the Lord is going to refresh this earth again, rejuvenate it again, to where certain areas where they got to import, over there in Israel, they got to import certain trees and crops and so on and so forth. Over there in Europe, it's called the bottomless pit for a reason, but they have to do a lot of imports of these resources. But in the ancient world, it wasn't so. So why is it like that now? Because the earth is not yielding her fruit. So when the Lord refreshes the earth again by way of this fire, by way of the shakeup, okay, that's when the earth is going to be refreshed again. It's going to start yielding its fruits. The trees are going to look different. The animals are going to look different. The humans are going to look different. Grapes were not originally the size like, this small. Grapes were huge. And the scriptures tell you that. You needed what, 2 strong men to carry a cluster of grapes. That's how big and voluptuous and fruitful they were. So the earth is going to go back to that state. Right? So that's what the Apostle John saw. He saw a refreshed earth and a refreshed heaven. Right? Go ahead.
And there was no more sea.
Right. For the first ones were passed away. Just like we read in 2nd Ezra 6, the first one was dealing now with Esau's reign. Okay. His power structure, the condition of the earth under Esau's reign was passed away. And the condition of the earth under Esau's reign consisted of what? Death, sorrow, mourning, destruction of the people's minds, of the people's bodies, of the earth itself, of the animals. He's doing all these different experiments. First off, this is the only devil that you hear about talking about there was an accident and you had an escape of lab monkeys. Why do you have monkeys in a lab? Because they're constantly experimenting on this, experimenting on that. Okay, doing this, that, and the third, injecting this gene in here. A lot of the things the scriptures tell you, like selective breeding that they do, you're not supposed to do that. Okay, the scriptures, the Lord separated the seed right within itself, right? You have the different families and you have the different types. But Esau goes and he takes this creature, he takes that creature, he mixes it, and now you got a liger, a tiger and a lion, and you got these weird ass looking dogs, and you wondering what the hell is this? Oh, it's a mix of this, that, and the third. What? So why does your dog have leprosy? Well, it's this, and that. But that's how Esau has set up this world. So all that is gonna pass away. The Lord is gonna do away with all that. Burn it, take it away. God.
And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven.
Yeah, so the Apostle John saw, now that holy city that he saw is a representation of the elect. And they were coming down out of heaven. Why were they in heaven in the first place? Let's go real quick to Isaiah 26 and 20. I believe that's the one right there. And we're going to find out why it is that they were in heaven in the first place. Okay? But the heaven is not talking about the spirit world. It's talking about the heavens, the atmosphere. Okay? And for the record, when you die, you do go to the spirit world. You don't just stay in limbo. You don't just go to sleep in limbo and then call it a day. But anyway, as it says here, he saw New Jerusalem coming down. So in an actual visualistic sense, the Apostle John saw this giant chariot, right? More than likely Yahweh's chariot, and he saw the elect coming down, like God's descending upon the earth. So he saw the elect coming down, or either in the chariot, more than likely out of the chariot, who knows, right? But anyway, he saw the elect coming down from the heavens. Now we're going to read why they had to be up there in the first place.
Isaiah chapter 26, verse 20. Come, my people, enter thou into the chamber.
Now, when it says my people, it's talking about the Israelites, but in particular the elect. Okay, so the Lord, the scriptures say here, "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers." Now, what's symbolic about this is the elect being joined or being delivered with the Yahushua in the heavens is likened onto a marriage. As the Apostle Paul mentioned, the bride has been being made ready, right, for the marriage. And so the chambers, right, is where the bride and the groom would go, right, for the union or the unification to consummate the marriage, right? So in this case, the elect being that spiritual bride are going to meet Yahushua, as it says, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Well, when a woman gets married to a man, that's supposed to be the one that she's going to be with until death, right? So here it's interesting that it uses the word chambers, right? Enter down to thy chambers, which are the chariot, which is where we're going to be joined with the Lord forevermore. Go ahead.
Right? Enter thou into thy chambers.
Now pause and get Revelation. Hold this and get Revelation 18, and I think it's 4, either 18 or 4 or 18 and 2. But it talks about come up hither that thou be not partakers of our sins. Talking about the same thing. So bring that out real quick.
It's the book of Revelation 18 and 4, and it reads, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people."
You come out of who? Come out of Babylon. Revelation 18 is talking about Babylon, right? America. So that voice says, "Come out of her, my people," which are, once read that again.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people."
Now pause. Now once again, we'll read that in Isaiah 26.
Then this is Isaiah 26, verse 20, from the top of 20.
Yep.
Come, my people, enter thou.
There you go. So my people there, once again, right? So who are those people? The Israelites, but starting with the elect. So now let's finish in Revelation 18 and we come back.
Revelation 18 and 4, and it reads, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people."
Come out of her, my people, and that's literal. Okay? So the elect are going to have to literally come out of this place. Why? Go ahead.
"That ye be not partakers of her sins."
That ye be not partakers of her sins. And how would you be a partaker of a sin? By ultimately getting destroyed with her. Because what's going to be happening at the time when this message is going to be given? You're going to have nuclear missiles that are going to be flying and raining down upon this place, turning this place into a lake of fire. So the elect need to get delivered upward. They need to get beamed up, okay? So that they don't melt along with this place and the wicked inhabitants of it. That was it on that?
A little more.
Go ahead.
And that you receive not of her plagues.
There you go. And that you receive not of her plagues. And one of those plagues is going to be what's written of in Zechariah 14 and 12, right? That's gonna melt their eyes in their sockets and their tongues in their mouth. That's gonna ultimately be by that fire, right? So that's how they ended up in the heavens in the first place when the Apostle John saw them coming down out of heaven, right? And though not every chapter or every verse in the book of Revelation is in chronological order, at least in this one you got 18, which describes them getting beamed up, America getting destroyed, and then when you go on to 21, now it describes them coming back down after America is destroyed. So finish that in Isaiah 26. I know you got something, so I got you.
It says, and shut thy doors about thee.
And shut thy doors about thee. Similar to the time of Noah and the ark. When the Lord delivers the elect, there's nobody else that's going to end up in there that doesn't belong in there. And that's why the scriptures say, two shall be in the field and one taken, right? So as you're going, you walk in, one is gone. Now you're done. You cook, literally. But the other one is going to go and you're not going to be able to follow them there. Just like if you went into a room and you shut the door so nobody can follow you in. Go ahead.
Hide thyself as it were for a little moment.
And the way that the elect are going to be hidden is by being in that chariot, what the world will call a UFO. Because once they enter that, you can't see them and you can't touch them. Go ahead.
All right. Until the indignation be overpassed.
Right. And so what is that indignation? It links up with what's that? Isaiah 34 and 16, if I'm not mistaken. The Lord has created the smith, right, and the waster to destroy the weapons of his indignation. So that indignation is going to be the nuclear fire that's going to be burning this place. And by us being in the chariot, we're going to be hidden from that until that time be passed, and then we're gonna come down, as it says in Revelation 21. You got it, bro.
I believe we were talking about was Isaiah 54, where it
54.
goes, yeah, where it goes into the nuclear missiles, basically, right?
Yes, sir.
But the points that you were making is beautiful, because when you go into the book of Psalm, or the 91st chapter, right? King David is basically saying a similar thing as to what John is saying about the Lord is definitely going to beam up his elect. Like you said, it says, "Come hither, my people," right? Come into thy chambers, right? Now it's crazy because a few years ago I actually had a dream about that, where it was myself, a few brothers, and my Eve, and all of a sudden we were like it looked like a desert area, you know, like there's no people, there's no buildings, it was just straight plain desert. And they was talking about the missiles about to drop. So we heard about it, we saw the missiles and everything. We had seen a few missiles drop on one end of the desert. And I'm looking around and I'm like, yo, like we got no place to run, nowhere to go. Like we're out in the open. What we gonna do? So immediately I started calling upon the name of the Lord. And then out of nowhere I heard a voice say, "Look over there." So I looked over there and there was this like a box, like a shiny, silver shiny box that's just standing in the middle out of nowhere. It just appeared out of nowhere. And it looked so small. I'm like, yo, it's like 10, 12 of us. How we all gonna fit in this? And then something was like, you know what, let's just go hide behind it. So when the thing hits, if the blast, at least we're not gonna feel it. It's gonna pass right next to the thing, whatever the shield is. So as we got there, as soon as we got there, we ran. As soon as we got to the thing, the pillar or whatever that thing was, somebody kind of opened the door and grabbed us in. You know, like a huge tall dude. He just opened the door and he just immediately, as soon as the bombs hit, right before it got to us, and we are kind of like, oh, he opened the door and grabbed us all into the thing. And as soon as we got in there, we had to go down a few steps. And then as soon as you walk in, it's like a lower deck type. You know, you put your head down, you look through, and there was mad people, like brothers, sisters that we know from YouTube and all that we've seen. I was seeing mad faces, and it was a separation. The women were on one side and the men were on one side. And I walked in, and then I don't know who this man could have been, but he came in and he introduced himself and he said, "Follow me." And then we all went, and then I woke up out of the dream, you know. But that dream, after I woke up, the first precept I thought about was what we just brought out. All right, come hither, as Isaiah 26. All right, and that's the same thing that a similar thing that King David is talking about here. All right, in the book of Psalm, chapter 91, and verse 1, it says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord Yahweh, He is my refuge and my fortress, my power, in Him will I trust." Right, and that's the mindset of all the members of the elect, because we know that it is our trust and our faith in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua that's going to aid us in the times that we're coming in. Right, because when you get to a point where you have nowhere to go, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, like you got no sense of security, the only way to turn to is the Lord. And then now the impossible becomes possible, right? Because now you go from a moment of looking around and saying, "Damn, there's no possible way we're gonna make it out of this," and then out of nowhere there's a possibility, like came out of nowhere. You know it's the Lord who did that for you, right? So it says, verse 3: "Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence." Right? So we're going back to the time of that destruction, the day of that destruction. The Lord is going to deliver His elect. All right. It says, "He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday." Okay, so when that day comes, those who believe on the Lord, as King David is saying, those who trust in the Lord, we're going to be delivered, man. And the deliverance is what we're talking about right now, what we're going through right now. Okay, going through the numerous visions that the men of old saw and actually documented. For us today, pertaining to Romans 15 and 4, for us to look at it and say, "Oh, this is what they said. This is what they said was going to happen. This is okay." So now we know, because we're seeing all those signs that leads to the things that we're talking about now. You see, so it makes you very, very confident in the Lord even more. You know, your confidence in the Lord's confidence is you're confident in the Lord's confidence to the point where you have no more doubt. You know, but yeah, I just wanted to add that real quick. You got it, bros.
That's it. That's it. Good point. Very beautiful point. You know, just like you said, man. You know, it's complicated in a simple way. You know, or it's simple in a complicated way. Because really, what it comes down to at the end of the day is just putting your trust in the Lord and actually believing that. You know, now I was telling the brother on our way here that there's certain things that when they happen in your life, you know, you can't think of it as coincidence in the sense of, damn, so the chances of this happening are so small. What would have happened if this didn't happen? That doesn't exist. If you are a true servant of the Lord, and if you're of one of his elect, there is no other world in which what happened to you didn't happen, right? Especially if it's something, you know, based on deliverance. And when you level up your faith, you get to the point where you're no longer thinking of it as like, damn, yo, I'm so lucky this happened, or I'm so blessed this happened, because if it didn't, X, Y, and Z would have happened to me. Now you understand. I expected it to happen. You know, I trust in the Lord so much that it's not, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see, but it's not overly shocking to me because I knew the Lord was going to do something at some way, somehow to get me out of this. You know, so you gotta start to, in a humble way, expect these things to happen. You got to expect the Lord to do these things, you know? And when they happen, it's not like, oh, I'm losing my mind because it happened. It's more like, okay, hey, the Lord came through as always. Just like, you know, when you pick up a phone and you call somebody, you expect that you're going to hear it to ring. They're either going to pick up or they're not going to pick up. Like, these are certain things that it's almost like fact. Like, you already know this is going to happen. You know, when you are going from point A to point B, you're not getting in the car thinking about, damn, I'm really hoping that when I turn the key and the car is going to start. You expect the car to start. So your hope is like, damn, I hope there's no traffic. You're not even worried about, I hope the car starts and I hope it can move back and reverse and drive. That's already like innate. Yeah, I already know that's going to happen. You know, so that's how you got to think of it when you have faith in the Lord. You know, you get to that level of having that faith, you sort of expect these things to happen, and you live life as though they've already been confirmed to happen.
Between Psalms 32 and 7. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. Ah, so pretty much when the Lord have us and we have that confidence in the Lord, that's all we look to. Like the dream that you just had, bro. I mean, that you was mentioning to us. You called upon the name, and the salvation was there when you had saw the door, the monolith, or the you know what you were saying that y'all went inside. That was a spiritual thing, and then the person that could have been your Howard shot. You know, that was like, yo, you called upon me, and I'm here to deliver you. Step inside. You know, and that's how we look to these scriptures. We look for these scriptures as far as like a refuge, like our shelter. Not saying that you put this over your head and you're going to be protected. No, it's like once you embody the spirit of this word, of this book, you know, you get that covering. You know?
That's right. You got it, bro.
Yeah, Khan, going back to the point of confidence, you know, pretty much understanding that there are no what ifs with the Lord.
I gotta go around that way.
Yeah, then make it right.
I'm saying we're going Park Avenue though.
Go to 125th and Park right.
All right, so bro.
Yeah, I was saying that you know, going back to the point of confidence in the Lord, right? It's like there are no what ifs when it comes to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. There are no what ifs. If the Lord says, and we've seen it countless amounts of time, right? When he told Moses, right, go back to Egypt and go deliver my people, Moses was giving the Lord what ifs. Oh, but Lord, I can barely speak. You know, I'm a little tongue tied. You know, I don't really have that the ability to orate like that. You know, I'm not a great orator or anything like that. So how am I going? The Lord said, nah, ain't no what ifs. All right, oh, but what if the Pharaoh, you know, he got his magi's, you know, they put your rod down, it's going to turn into a snake. I'm gonna show you something when you get there. You know, it's always like that. Even with Abraham, right? We went into that last week when, you know, Isaac asked him, but Father, you know, we got the sticks, we got all the things for the sacrifice, but where's the sheep? Where's the ram? What we gonna use? And he said, don't worry, the Lord will provide. You know, and many times in our life, we've had to go through that where you don't know what's coming. You're not certain of what's coming in the future. All you know is I could bank on the word of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, the Lord will provide. You know, you go through some shit where you got rent coming up, you know, and you know, like, damn, like, how am I gonna make it out of this one? You know, you saved up all month, but yet everything is so expensive. You keep on like trying to make ends meet, and it's harder and harder and harder. And then you get to that point, you believe the Lord's gonna come through, and there's some way somehow He comes through. There's many different times that He's done that, you know. But the point is, what the Lord, there are no what ifs with the Lord. If Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, especially Yahushua, when He says something, He's been through it. He knows the ins and outs of all things. He has power over all things, spirits, you name it. Yahushua knows the ins and outs. He made it all. So if He says, "Yo, when the time comes, I'm gonna deliver you," what's that in Revelation 3? Right? I'll deliver you when the hour of temptation comes. All you got to do is just have faith that when the time comes, you're gonna be delivered. You can't say, "Oh, what if, Lord? But what if we get to that point and then nah, there are no what ifs. It's guaranteed." All right, it's guaranteed. Like He knows what's gonna happen, so He's telling you what's gonna happen. You haven't been there, so of course, the human mind, the human nature is, yeah, but like it's been a lot of times where I thought something and then it didn't go my way. So what if there's the same exact situation? Nah, not with the Lord. Okay, and when it comes to future things that's been written, it's written for a reason. Did not Yahushua tell the disciples that He said, "I go to prepare a place for you." Right, in my Father's house are many mansions, and I go to prepare a place for you. If it weren't so, I would have told you. Right. So if the Lord didn't have things going on for us to inherit, right, which is what we're talking about, what's the things that are to come, we're going to be inheriting these mansions, these different planets. We believe that, right? Because we're going to be extraterrestrial, meaning that we're going to be able to dwell on the terrain and then go outside of the terrain, extra. Okay, we're going to be going to different planets. The angels do that. Okay, Apostle Paul said, "Well, we're going to judge angels." Don't you know that we're going to judge angels, right? So we're going to have that ability. Kings, joint heirs with Yahushua. You think Yahushua has limitations? He doesn't have limitations, right? The Apostle John said, "We don't know what He's going to be like, but we know we're going to be like Him when He makes His return." See, so that should keep you in the spirit of confidence. Like, again, the word confidence of the things that are yet to come, that's been promised to us. You see, and if we stay the course and you have the full assurance of faith, there is no what ifs. Oh, well, what if I end up taking the sea here? Man, that's not even a thought. Like I'd rather die before a motherfucker try to play that shit with me. That's just the mindset. And that's a deep rooted spirit of what the Lord said. He said, "I have reserved 7,000 men that will not bow the knee to the image of Baal." Some of us really have that spirit, man. Okay, and Esau knows that. See, sometimes, brothers, think about this. Sometimes you go through certain things that you can't really understand why. It's like, damn, my life, why is it always like this? Right? Because the Lord is the one who's putting that spirit on you, because He knows if He don't keep you in those bounds, you're going to be loosed out here. You're going to be wild. And Esau knows that. So the Lord plays those kind of games both in the spiritual realm and it manifests in the physical. You might have infirmities all the time, but you have a strong spirit. You might have financial issues, but you have a strong spirit. All these different things you might be going through, familial issues, women, whatever, money, whatever. All right, these are all obstacles the Lord puts in our way to keep us, at the bottom. And then once the time comes, he loosens the chains, and then you go and see some shit. But again, this is all a gradual thing. All going back to what? The confidence in the Lord. That there are no what ifs with the Lord. It's what is. Okay? No what ifs. It's what is. You got it, bro.
Yeah, hey, you mentioned about limitations, right? About how the Lord doesn't have any limitations. And, that's a good point, right? Because when you think about it, a lot of things today people think of as impossible. Like the Lord walked on water, right? He healed people. As a matter of fact, you had the disciples which healed people, right? And so these things that people look at as impossible is really because your mind hasn't been exposed to how it actually works, the inner workings of whatever the case is. But once you do, that is no longer impossible. It's like when you see a magician do a trick, you're like, how do you possibly do that? And then you find out how it works, and you're like, oh, it's possible. It's not that big of a deal after all. Now, here's one example, right? This is an example from I think this is Christopher Columbus that did this, where he was basically saying, look, he was trying to tell his sponsors, look, if I'm able to balance an egg, like a boiled egg, right, on its axis or whatnot, without it tipping over left or right or falling down, then you're gonna sponsor me to do X, Y, and Z. And so they're like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen because due to the laws of gravity or X, Y, and Z, there's no way that you just put an egg. I'm talking about you stand it up and it's just gonna stay up there like that without falling left or right. It's just not gonna happen. And this guy is like talking with such confidence. He's like, no, get me that egg. So he goes against the egg, and everybody's watching, and they're like, yo, this guy, like, now they start wondering in their minds, does this guy know something we don't know? Because I'm sure he's competent enough to know how gravity works, right? And know how physics and balance and all those work. So why is he, doing all this? Long story short, he got the egg, looked at the egg, everybody's watching, they're like, oh, how's he gonna do it? He places it, they think he's falling. So he just smashes the egg, just smashes the bottom of it. And when you smash a boiled egg at the bottom, it becomes flat. And then he places it down, and then that thing is stable. And they all looking at him like, man, get the guards, man, get this. But long story short, he won, right? He never said anything about not cracking the egg. He just said, look, I can balance the boiled egg just like that. So now in their minds, they're like, oh, what seemed impossible a minute ago is now possible because now I know what he actually did. The way I was thinking about it was completely different. I thought he was just going to leave it there like that. But now I know that that's not how things work. If you want to balance an egg like that, you have to actually smash it a bit to give it that little leverage to stay upright. So the point being, when the Lord, unlocks it in our minds, how does this actually work? Then you start to realize, oh, this is how the Lord was able to turn water to wine. Or this is how he was able to walk on water. I was thinking about it wrong. I thought you just jump on the water and then the shit, you start going down. But now that I know how it works, it's really not that, not that complicated. It's not that impossible because I know how it works now. So going back to your point about limitations, really a part of that for us is also like ignorance, right? The Lord hasn't given us the ability to understand and be able to then exercise this ability. Because think about it, right? This is something we all have within us. The Lord didn't necessarily change the apostles' bodies for them to be able to heal others. The Lord didn't change the apostle Peter's body for him to be able to walk on water. It was based on something he had within him, which was faith, right? So it's the same with us. We already have all of these ingredients, but the Lord he's going to need to channel it within us, open up our minds. Guess what? When we were back in the world and we didn't know about this truth, we still had it within us. We still had the ability to understand these words. We still had the ability to understand these breakdowns. We just weren't exposed to it. So in our minds, it seemed impossible. But the ingredients we have are already within us, is the point. So just like we now are able to exercise the things we're able to do now via the exposure to it, when the Lord exposes us to the next level of things, it's already within us. We're going to be able to do what we got to do. And now we do this thing so seamlessly. We're like, yo, how come we weren't doing this before? Well, when the Lord takes us to the next level, we're going to do that seamlessly and be like, oh, I can't believe this whole time it was this simple. You just have to think about this, Anyway, where are we at?
Revelation.
Yeah, we had read Isaiah and we had read Revelation. So now let's go back to Revelation 21. Because we left off at the Apostle John seeing New Jerusalem coming down, right? So now we found out, how did they end up in the heavens in the first place? As a matter of fact, real quick, let's actually jump to Revelation 15. And you can start at the top. Because that's also going to be another angle from how they ended up in the heavens in the first place. Okay? And that Lord willing, that's going to be us. See, as all these things are happening, like Aharon was saying, we're not sweating. We're not sweating because we know, look, when we were in that, for example, in that dream, right, being in that desert and not knowing where to go, at the end of the day, the Lord is now forcing you to have faith, because at that point, you just got to just count your costs and be like, look, what's the point in running to the left or running to the right? It's a desert. If a bomb drops over here, I'm not outrunning the bomb. So why should I even waste my energy trying to run or find a carnal solution? I'm going to just sit here and wait for the Lord, because that's the most I can do. Really, that's the most effective thing I can do. And if the Lord delivers me, hey, so be it. If not, hey, it is what it is. But, the carnal mind would go, oh no, we got to run. Run where? Do you know what the blast radius of a missile, a nuclear missile is? What do you mean run? If I stay here and you run, we both still getting caught, So I'll save my energy. Anyway, you got it. Yeah. Hell yeah.
This is Revelation 15, verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up with the wrath of God.
Go ahead.
And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire,
Hmm?
and them that had gotten the victory over the beast.
Right. So the Apostle John had to have been seeing this from what it looked like a what do they call bird's eye view, right? To sort of get the perspective of of what the elect would have been seeing at this point, right? From being up in the heavens and looking down and looking through the firmament and seeing the fire melting up everything down below you. Because where are the elect gonna be? Come up, my people, right? Come up hither. Go ahead. And that's why he likened it onto a sea. Glass in itself is not liquid, okay? But he's talking about the transparency. Because when you're up in the heavens, when you're up in them clouds, you can still see down. As the plane is going through, or if you're in a plane or whatever the case is, you can look down and you can see, like the city, the people that start looking like ants, the cars start looking smaller and all of that. But what he saw was what it looked like when when you see the ocean. Sometimes you see the waves and they'll come and clash with each other. Well, when you look at like a lava or like a volcano, it's the same thing. It has similar properties. You'll see the hot fire and it will actually look like liquid. But the only problem is if it touches you, you're cooked. Go ahead.
And over his image and over his mark.
Right. So those that were up there, those that my people, were those that got the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark. So they refused to bow down to the system, like you mentioned about those that were not bowed the knee to Baal, right? And they didn't take the MOTB. Okay, so through the spirit of Yahushai, they were able to withstand Revelation 3 and 10, right? They were the ones that were kept. And by being kept, they ended up being preserved up until the literal deliverance. Go ahead.
And over the number of his name,
Hmm.
stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God.
Right. So you'll have these so-called Christians that actually think that it's a literal sea of glass, like a glass seat that people are just standing on top of. How does that even make sense? And why? Even if it did make sense, why would the Lord? What purpose does that hope serve? Realistically, according to the laws He has set of physics and the laws of nature, how would it make sense to have a sea of glass and they're just standing on it? For what? Why? Okay. But what this means is them being in the chariot above in the heavens. Go ahead. Was that it on that verse? That was verse 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Actually, matter of fact, read 3.
Verse 3 of Revelation 15. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb.
And that's the song of deliverance. Okay, and the song of the Lamb, because the Lamb is going to be with us. And that Lamb is Yahushua. Go ahead.
Saying, great and marvelous are thy works,
Mm-hmm.
Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints.
Yeah, see, great and marvelous are thy works, because witnessing something like that is going to be beyond marvelous. We're talking about the whole of North America being melted in front of your eyes. Like it's going to take a while to comprehend what's actually happening here. Like, damn, yo, whoa, like, whoa. From this point on, America ceased to exist. Like, the world has changed. Everything has changed. There is no more America. There's no more New York. There's no more Cali, no Jersey, no Texas. None of that exists anymore. It's done. Esau's out of power. Like, the world has changed. From that very moment on, we're going to be in the chariot comprehending all this. Like, yo, no more taxes, no more school, no more work. Like our roles are going to be escalated. Okay, and now we're going to have a much bigger responsibility, because now we're going to really need to go around and be the judges of the earth, as the scriptures say. Esau has been taken out of power, and everything, we're seeing it right before our eyes. So that day that we've been waiting for so long and long and long is finally going to be there, and it's going to be like, whoa, it might feel a little weird. Like, oh shit, like, we're not going to prophesy anymore. Like, we're so used to doing these things. No more videos. Here, brother in the back, shalom, go.
Hey, that's why King David said that only with thine eyes shall thou behold the reward of the wicked. Right? We're gonna be up there watching down on this place, and brother's been saying, remember how we used to sit there and sit down and imagine how these things are all gonna play out? you know, you read the scriptures like the Apostle Gabar always brings out from time to time about reading the scriptures and actually envisioning what you're reading. And it takes the spirit of the Lord to give you that, because before we came into His truth, we could read the scriptures, but we didn't get that we didn't envision it for what it really is. We were
Right.
thinking of white people the whole time. Like I read the scripture, and I'm like, but how did like trying to fit a white image into the context of what we're reading? That shit didn't make sense. But that's just what you've always known. You know, when we were kids, remember we used to say, "Yo, what if the Most High is black?" You know, we used to say shit like that. Yeah, you know, jokingly. But you know, now we know. Oh shit! Like the Heavenly Father looks more like us. If anything, we look more like Him, I should say.
Yep.
You know. So, you know, now that you have the understanding, when you're reading it, you're reading the book of Jeremiah or Isaiah, or even going back to the time of Exodus, or any time between that, even the New Testament. You could see now, okay, the same things that we're going through is the same thing that's written. It's the same exact thing that's going on. Jake being rebellious, Jake having authority from the Lord being sent down, and they reject it completely. They reject it more than the folly that they have that's among them. It's like, damn. So it's like the same shit. That's why Jeremiah says, Jeremiah 4:20-22, I think, where it says, for my people are foolish, right? They're smartest children. You know, when it comes to wickedness, Jake is experts. You know, they got their PhDs and emeritus and all kinds of stuff. Like these dudes are high level, you know. And now the Lord is exposing all that. Look what's going on with this whole Diddy thing, LeBron, all these dudes. You're like, damn, you niggas really do wicked shit. And then you come around and parade like you're celebrities and good people and all that. Come on, bro. You know? But to do righteousness, to do the right thing according to the Lord, they have no knowledge. That they don't know. They don't know. As a matter of fact, they persecute you for bringing that kind of information to them. You see? So it's like, damn, bro, like the same thing. You don't see no J people doing that type of stuff. They don't even go into the scriptures. How many J's do you know actually go into the scriptures or are actually Christians? You call yourself a Jew, but you're not a Christian. You're not, you know, like you don't believe in the Bible. You don't believe in the Messiah. How you a Christian, right? How you a so-called Jew, but you're not a Christian? Like that don't really make sense, right? Because the Jews, the Lord came to the Jews, okay, the true Jews, the Judeans. He came there, all right. Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Those are the most people He was dealing with. But you niggas over there in the land talking about, oh, you know, we don't believe in the Messiah and all this. Like, He ain't come back yet. But yet you in the land? How He ain't come back yet, but you in the land? What's going on there? Right? So it's all part of the Lord exposing all this stuff. Again, was that 2 Thessalonians, that the man of sin is being revealed. Okay? And that's all these things that's happening right now is just a testament before the destruction. Because remember, pride cometh before destruction and before a fall. You've seen all through America's history. Ain't no nation on this earth that has done the things in pride that America does. Okay, and they actually verbalize it and say it, like the wickedness that they do, they put the word pride on it. You know, they've surpassed Sodom and Gomorrah. Like they're on a whole nother level. Okay, that's why the Lord is not going to destroy only 5 cities. He's going to destroy the whole entire land. All right, you got it, bro.
That's right. They're on a new level. That's right. And that's like you said, that's why the Lord's gonna take them out. And just like that, like a seesaw. As they go down, we go up. You know, literally. You know, we go up as they go down. It's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful thing to see and to Lord willing be a part of. You know, like you think about like the small wins, right? You have small wins today. You know, certain people, somebody say somebody's doing music, right? They're doing music, a rapper or whatever the case is. They post a video on YouTube. They got maybe like 12,000 views, right? Not even likes, 12,000 views. And they're happy. You know what I'm saying? They posting that shit. You know, they get the little YouTube plaque award. And they, oh, look, I got this many followers, this many subscribers. Bro, that's, go to Saudi Arabia. They have no idea who you are. You know what I'm saying? Go to even a different state. They have no clue who the hell, even within your same state, there's people that don't know who you are. You know? Then we're talking about what's about to happen. All of every creature in existence is going to know who you are and reverence you. It's not that they're going to know who you are because you're some wicked individual. They're going to reverence you. Why? Because the Most High is giving you that role or that authority. That surpasses anything and everything. And the glory the Lord gives is not in title or status alone. You're going to see why it is that such and such is esteemed as such and such. Like if you look at Yahushai, oh, absolute. Yeah. You know, Yahushai is going to be absolute. He's going to be the pinnacle. You're going to look at him and you're going to know that man doesn't get better than this. You know, creation doesn't get better than this. This is the perfect creation of the Lord. You can't make him look better. You can't make him move better. You can't make him think better. He's going to be the literally the pinnacle. And that's why he's going to have that status and that rank. And when you look at the rest of the elect, it's going to be the same. You're going to look at them and be like, there's no imperfections about them. There's nothing wrong. These guys are literally perfect. These people are literally perfect. You don't get better than that. That is why they're in the position that they're in. Today you look at somebody and you're like, how the hell is this guy known as? Why do they reference him as? They look at this rapper, Drake or this guy. You look at him, you like, I don't see it. Why is everybody feeding for this guy? Because he doesn't embody the status that he is given. You look at this guy, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Looks all flamboyant and shit. What? No. In the kingdom, not even a single soul. Even those that don't like you are not going to be able to look at you and be like, I don't see why this guy is in that position. Everybody going to understand why you are in that position, because that's the glory that the Lord gives. The glory the Lord gave Moses has remained even until today. Even with people that don't believe in the Bible, they know who Moses is, because the Lord gave you that glory. Now, the glory that was sought after by man, I'm sure back in their time, they had these top-notch musicians, but some of us, we don't have a clue about who the hell these people are, because their crown was a corruptible crown, and hence it died with them. Michael Jackson, a few years from now, a few generations from now in the kingdom, he ain't going to be remembered as such. Okay, but the prophets, they have that incorruptible crown that's going to stay with them. In whatever generation they come in, it's going to be there. All right? Yeah. All right.
Revelation 5 and 12, saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb. Let me read 11 actually. Sorry. Let me go up to 9. And they sung a new song, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood out of every king and tongue and people and nation. Right, because that new song is being sung. Right, they sung a new song, worthy, thou art worthy to take the book. So who opened the seals? Yahweh Shai, by his sacrifice. He is that incorruptible lamb. So if you're talking about the book is sealed, then you haven't read this chapter, or you read it and you didn't understand it. And it said that they were redeemed. It says, by thy blood, by the blood of the Lamb, which is Yahweh Shai, out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. That doesn't mean that every kindred and tongue and people and nation can be saved out of. Even King David said, thou hast delivered me out of many waters, which is what? The other nations. And it even says from strange children, showing you that the waters is talking about nations. And we're going to go up out of this place by chariots. All right, Lord's will, we're of the elect. And it says, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. So you have right now on the earth, you have kings, but you don't have kings and priests. On the right hand side, you have the left hand priesthood. We know that. But this is the first time that men are actually going to be exalted for the righteousness of serving the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, as the brother was going into so beautifully. All right. And really, Yahweh Shai is the first one to receive that glory, but they didn't even give it to him. They gave it to Jesus. Right. They gave it to an image of a white man. So Yahweh Shai has to get his glory. You have to realize that this is the true image, that of a so-called black man with woolly hair, with an austere look, with dark skin. That's the true image. That's the perfection of beauty of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Right. You say something? Yeah. Revelation 5 and 11. And remember, it says, and we shall reign on earth. So that means that the kingdom, the rulership is going to be established right here on earth. Not some pie in the sky, it's going to be floating around on a cloud. I'm going to be a spirit, and we're just going to be moving around as light orbs. That's how Christians really think.
Yeah. Yep.
That's scary. So what of the earth? What's the purpose of the earth? Was not the throne of David established on earth? Let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What's the point of that? If it's just going to be, we're going to be in the outer atmosphere, in a higher dimension, floating around. So Esau got to enjoy the dominion of the earth, but our dominion, we don't get earth. We got to be in a different dimension without the pleasures of life. Right. Isn't that the beauty of life, to watch the sun come up? The sun, the moon, and the stars, and the beauty of the Lord's creation. But we don't get to enjoy that. No, we're going to reign on earth, man. as kings and priests.
The scripture said man was made for the earth. And just like you said about the perfection, right, of beauty. Today, people look at beauty according to Esau standards. So they may see an image of like a depiction or description of Yahweh Shai, and they might say, "Oh hell no, that's not beautiful. Or that doesn't look good. Like that looks mad weird. That looks mad scary." But that's because we live in a different age, right? When you look at like some of those some of them 100 years ago, right, around the Renaissance era and developing, when you look at the kind of clothes they wore, like them Galileos and shit, that shit look funny, right? They had the little fold thing around their neck. They had the weird looking hat, especially you go to like France or them areas. They had the shoes that like curl up this way, right? Then they had the little puffy trousers, right? It's like a little puff around the leg, and then they got little tights under that shit. That was like styling and back then. Like you walk up in there like that, you know, you know. They came in, you know, we talk about you coming in style, the king, you know what I'm saying? His short ass, he coming in with that shit. They got the little curly mustache and shit. That was like the style back then. You see somebody like that, you're like, yeah, this guy, you know, he knows what's up. Right now, you look at it and you make mockery. It's like, yo, that's funny as hell. Like, why would you dress like that? Well, it's the same thing. So in the kingdom, you're gonna look at the standards here as what the hell was that? Just like right now, they look at the standards of the kingdom, or you know, like of how things should be, as like, oh nah, you know, he looks too scary. Why his eyes red and all of that? Well, it's because they're looking at beauty according to the standards of this age. You got it, bro.
Yeah, like you said, all of the clothes that even the clothes we're wearing now in the kingdom, we're gonna look at this as the garments of peasants. Like, man, we was really down bad back then, huh?
Yeah.
But even polo, even the fly shit you could have, like, yeah, it's nice, it's little fly shit, whatever, but it's gonna be compared to the garments, everything we're gonna have, everything's gonna be upgraded. So we're gonna look at this stuff and be like, man, that wasn't even 100%. But yeah, we're gonna look at that and say, man, that was peasantry that we were involved with.
Yeah.
This is real life. This is real. Now we got the real stuff. This is real clothing.
Mhm.
Most people don't even sleep. I was having a conversation with a brother the other day. We don't even sleep on linen sheets. But you go to the linens in the store. This is the linen section.
Mhm.
But it ain't even linens. It's
Yep.
polyester.
Yep.
And then you look up real linen sheets is actually hella expensive,
Mhm.
and it heals your body. But they don't tell you that it's linens. Oh, but we didn't tell you it's really not linen. You know. But that's all Esau's whole setup is all a false image. You see, that's the image of the beast. This whole system, of course. Yep.
Hey, real quick, just to add on to your point, ICR, going back to what you said about in the kingdom, everything we're gonna have is gonna be authentic. It's gonna be real. It's gonna have actual value. See, in this world we're living in, value is propaganda. It's all propagated, right? For example, you go back to this book, Propaganda, actually by Edward Bernays, right? And he was one of those that actually started the concept of propaganda in America. He was one one of those that pushed it, at least using the government and so on and so forth, right? And he was going into how making any brand in America or around the world, how that whole concept works. And it was literally a rich man. I'll just give an example. A rich man could say, you know what? I just bought a whole land of maybe 150,000 acres of, you know, cotton land, right? So now you got all this land filled with cotton. The next thing you're going to do is, all right, I'm growing all this cotton. I want to make a profit on that. I'm not going to just sell the cotton. No, what he does is he partners up with the media, the magazines, right? The tabloids, the commercials, and so on and so forth. And then he partners up with you know, people from Hollywood to work with the comedians or the actors or whoever they may be, right? Those who have influence in society, so-called, which is all made up once again, right? And then he partners up with one of the biggest clothing brands that is perceived in society as high level. And then he says, okay, what's the best way to sell this stuff? They're like, cotton? Nigga, cotton ain't like, not in this area. You're not going to make no profit off of cotton. He's like, yo, I have 150,000 acres of cotton, so it better be worth some shit. It's shit, we're going to have to come up with something then. So they come up with this fuck ass dressing, like you got Kanye West, they're going to put him in some shit. You'd be like, bro, what the fuck? You got these big ass boots and like Tesla, nasty ass cars that they making and shit. Okay, cool. They make these things. At first, it's not gonna be appealing. So the market is gonna be like, ah, nah, this ain't working. Oh well, we have to use propaganda now. So then they come up with the actors. Nigga, the actor that you see wearing this clothing brand, you think that, oh, that's fly shit. I'm gonna go get some of that. Oh, Polo, oh, Ralph Lauren. Oh, guess what? He's being paid to wear that for the commercial. Once the commercial is done, he takes it off and he goes wear whatever he's gonna wear. See, you see that and think, oh shit, Matthew McConaughey actually likes driving Lincoln. Oh my god, let me go buy a Lincoln. Nah, it doesn't work like that. So they create this concept of value, right? Because you see people in so-called high status who are put in those positions who have these things, right? They push into your face. You got nothing. You working 9 to 5 to pay your bills, but you see this nigga wearing it, so now you want to wear it to make it seem like, oh, that's fashionable, that's cool. And that's how they do it. So a lot of these clothing brands, you really look into it, it's made overseas for cheap. And they come over here and they sell it for mad crazy. If you go overseas, you could buy a whole lot of stuff. Nike, you buy for $200 here. You get that shit for like less than $10 over there. You see what I'm saying? So that's how they do it. They bring it over here and then they push the propaganda and make it seem valuable. So you might, like Ashia was saying, you might buy clothing that they might say 100% linen. Yeah, well, it's not really 100% linen, because when you really do the research and you find out what they actually consider linen, right? Because Esau always does this double speak shit. He might say one thing, but it really means something else. So if you don't do the research, you're gonna get lost. So you see, oh, 100% linen, let me go buy it, and now you all of a sudden you're messed up, you're getting sick, you do all these different things, and you never attribute that to the clothing that you're wearing. Little did you know that it actually has a vibration on it. You see, sometimes you might buy clothing that they just took off of a dead person, they wash it and refurbish it and put it out in the frame. You go buy it, next thing you know, you got all these spirits on you, you have no idea what the hell is going on. Every single time you wear that shit, some weirdo shit is happening, but you never think of it as, yo, what if this shit actually is tied to what's going on? You see, it's the little things like that. But in the kingdom, you're gonna have the garment. Your garment is gonna be made out of real stuff, real material, real elements that actually not just fits you perfectly, but also it puts a certain spirit on you, like a vibrant spirit on you. You know, it just feels right. You know, you have your crown on your head, it just feels right. It's made out of the right stuff, like they say. You know, like, yo, this gold is like real gold. You know, like this fabric here, like you feel it, you be like, damn, you smell it. You take a deep breath, you're like, damn, this shit smell good. Like, it's just something about it. Like, damn, Lord, how did you, like, this is so intricate. Like, it's perfectly woven together. You know what I'm saying? You look at you like, yo, it must have taken you time to actually put this together. You know, it's valuable. It's high level. You know, your chariot that you may have, like, yo, this is like real stuff, like unseen on this earth before. Like, yo, this is crazy. You see, the things that we're going to have are actually going to be valuable. It's not going to take propaganda to make it seem valuable. It's actually going to hold value. It's going to have value. See, because it has to fit those who are going to be wearing it, right? We're going to be, well, the Lord said, well, he's going to make his men more precious than fine gold. So if that's the case in the kingdom, how is it going to be? Go back to what you started off with, Bakar, about a refurbished earth, a renewed earth, right? Because Israel is going to be renewed, so the habitation of Israel has to be renewed, which is the whole entire earth. You see? The earth is going to aid in how we live in a righteous manner, how we live in an orderly manner. You see what I'm saying? The earth right now, as it is constituted for the promotion of all this wickedness. You know, they have a injustice system that pushes wickedness, and then it condemns righteousness. You can't have some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You got Esau ruling, coming up with all kinds of weirdo shit, destroying the earth. Like you gave an example about this crossbreeding and then the testing, all these different things that they do. It's not just on animals, they do it on people too. You know, they got bionic humans and all kinds of different shit. A lot of these athletes, LeBron James, right? They go through all those different things. You know, this nigga out here playing 20 years in the NBA, 20 plus years in the NBA, and he's still jumping around like a freaking 21-year-old. Nah, bro, you got something going on. Yeah, he'll probably like a dirty party. Yeah, you know, yeah, and he gonna get caught, nigga. The Lord's gonna bring your ass down, just like all these wicked ass niggas out there. The Lord's gonna bring your ass down, LeBron James. You was a wicked ass nigga, man. All this Illuminati weirdo shit. The Lord he's exposing all of that. You know, you're tied in with the Jays. The Lord is exposing all of that, man. All right, but let me see. Actually, you brothers got it. I'm gonna find another piece
Yeah,
of
I
us.
got that here for you. I didn't, we mentioned this, right? This is an article that I found. It says the healing properties of linen clothing, and because everything has a frequency, right? In fact, in order for you to see something, right, or even touch it, it's constantly moving, right? At in this case, like megahertz or something like that, at a certain frequency, and that's what allows it to be physical for us, right? So it says here, linen clothing can help heal you. Linen is yet another one of our favorite ethical fabrics alternatives. Linen is a textile made from the fibers of the flax plant. But you may be wondering to yourself, what exactly makes it so wonderful? Well, linen is commonly referred to as the healing fabric or the preferred fabric for a healthy lifestyle, and there are a few reasons to why that is. Linen clothing is scientifically proven to assist in all types of healing. In the past, the restorative properties of linen were acknowledged by its preferred use as the material that bandages were made from. Linen naturally fights against different types of bacteria and fungi, and flax is found to be a very effective barrier to some diseases. Hospital sheets used to use linen fabric because it was widely known to be the best for healing and protection against infections. So you're thinking, oh, it's just clothes that I'm wearing. Why does scripture say don't wear mixed fabrics? Why would the Lord tell you something like that? Think about it. In order, because your clothes have to have an effect on you if the Lord is telling you specifically how to dress. It's not just about the visual appeal. Today, people think clothing is all about how it looks. No, clothing have an actual physical effect on you, and we're about to read more about that. And this is why the Lord says X, Y, and Z. Some laws you think don't make sense, but that's because you just don't understand. So it says here, in 2003, a Jewish doctor, Heidi Yellen, did a study on the frequencies of fabrics, in which she showed that a healthy human body has a signature frequency of 100, and wearing a material that measures less than 100 units of energy would compromise our well-being. So it would lower your frequency or your vibration. Each fabric gives off a frequency that can be measured in megahertz. Organic cotton has a tested value of 110 megahertz. Polyester around 10 megahertz, which is bad. If your signature is around 100 and polyester is 10, you're not really doing good to yourself.
Bringing you down.
Yeah, it's bringing you down.
That's why you ain't getting good sleep.
Yep. Because guess what? Even the materials of your mattress, they also play a role in you. Your bed sheets, they also play a role in there.
And your dog.
Yeah, and your dog too. That's it. So it says here, a diseased person generally measures 15 megahertz. Wool and linen both have a signature of 5,000 megahertz. That amazing, naturally created feature of the fabrics will also give energy to your body as you wear it. It is important, however, not to wear linen and wool together. However, as the frequencies in both of the linen and wool fibers run in opposite current directions. So what's going to happen? If you wear them together, the two frequencies will cancel each other out and bring you to a zero. So once again, why aren't you supposed to be wearing these mixed fabrics? Because yeah, you may think, oh, well, if wool is 5,000 megahertz and linen is 5,000 megahertz, then let me get a combo of 10,000 megahertz. It's not how it works. Okay, they're going in opposite directions, so they're canceling each other out. And now you understand, wait, so this whole time, wow, scientifically, this is what's going on behind the scenes. And this is why the Lord says, do this, don't do that, make this of this. See, when the Lord said, when he was specific, right? He says, okay, when you're making the altar or when you're building a temple, use this wood, acacia wood, use this. When you're building the ark, use this, use that material. Why is the Lord specifically telling him to use X, Y, and Z materials? Because the Lord created it. So he knows what the properties are. He knows which goes well with what, under what conditions. If you're going to be in hot conditions, okay, use this. Because when this one gets hot, it does this. Or use that. When it gets cold, it does this. When this gets wet, it does X, Y, and Z. Because you got to really understand the intricacy of creation. Like the Lord created water. And not only is water liquid, but it has an effect on you when it touches you. Now your whatever it is changes whatever, texture. Now it becomes wet because it's been touched by water. So there's like the whole interaction between two different elements and how they create a different kind of reaction. All of these things were part of creation. And there's so much that we miss out on because Esau has built all these abstractions upon life and creation to make you think clothing is just, just how you look, or how you eat. That's just how it tastes. If you look at what Esau has done, he's commercialized food to the point where people only eat for taste. But you realize that taste is only one. Look, taste starts here and ends here, But you got to worry about, okay, once I'm done tasting the food, what's actually happening? Because now it's going into your body, and that's where most of the processes take place. A lot of things that happen in your body are allowed into your body through your mouth, a good portion of them, And so when you worry about taste, okay, now you're done tasting the food, but now what's actually in it? Because when it starts to break down and get inside of your body, now you got a whole different, scheme on your hands. So, but diet should consist more of what it does when it's in your body and less about the taste.
And they take out your tonsils.
Yeah.
Which your tonsils takes a test of the food and then gets your immune system prepared for whatever's coming.
Look at that.
You take them tonsils out, it's like you just dropping an unknown substance every time.
Right.
Like, surprise. Here
Gotcha.
we go. Gotcha.
Then they give you ice
Every
cream. after.
time. And then they give you ice cream. We had to do that for you because, you had some inflammation. All you needed to do was fast for probably a day or so. 99.9% of these diseases that Esau be coming up with, they're talking about, yo, you need to do this. We're going to cut this out. We're going to take that out. Yo, I'm sorry, man. We got to chop your leg. Sorry. That's it. Chop my leg? What? I need that shit. You chop my leg. Not no more. We're going to have to take it off. Your left ear, you're deaf. Your right eye don't work. We'll have to take all that shit out. We're going to replace it with synthetics. Don't worry. Elon Musk got the, he got the Neuralink. You'll be all right, man.
Mhm.
We're going to make you new again.
Yep.
We can rebuild him better. But really, all you need to do is 99% of the time is fast, go on an alkaline diet for like a week, take some herbs. And you don't have to be over righteous about it. You could take some herbs and alkaline stuff for a few days, and then you could go back to like a regular balanced diet.
Mhm.
You don't have to be a vegan all the time. But sometimes you might want to take a break from the meat because of how toxic it is in this society.
But they're addicted to the taste.
That is the taste. So that's all carnality.
Yep.
Just like you're addicted to the look. That's all carnality.
Mhm.
But then when you look at it, there's a way that where you could merge both,
Right.
the taste and the look.
Right.
It's supposed to match the actual substance. Because good food is supposed to, healthy, good food is supposed to taste good too. Good clothing that's good for you, it's supposed to look nice too. You look at that Game of Thrones stuff, man.
Right.
That stuff is some real drip.
Yeah, shit.
The stuff they be them leathers and all that stuff. We're gonna have that times 1,000, man. And righteousness. We might just wear war regalia just cause we're not going to war. But we're gonna wear some flossed out shit.
Right.
And they're gonna be like, damn, these people, this is truly the people of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. The heathen ain't gonna be looking like us. And even if they might try to dress and imitate us, because we are gonna be a light to them, but they're not gonna have that same glow like the megahertz. Our megahertz gonna be astronomical in that day.
Yep.
They're not gonna be able to touch it because anything that has electricity has an electromagnetic aura.
Yep.
So that's why somebody come in the room, you feel their presence before you see them. Now imagine us. That's like in Dragon Ball when they have the scouters or they sense the I can't sense his energy.
Yep.
Or they're gonna sense our energy.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be like many stars. Like the scripture compares us to stars, man. Imagine the power of a star, but in a man.
Right.
Like that's the power of the Lord beyond that. Beyond our comprehension. But I'm just giving you an example that's nothing to the Lord to do that.
I think Ron, you got something?
Yeah, I was going to say that, hey, to Ishiar's point, even to a degree, well, when people feel the aura now, people feel the aura now, everywhere we go, whether you're doing the work or whether you're in your private life or whatever the case may be, people know that there's a different energy. Like you walk into their homes and they're like, yo, this guy is different.
Right.
It's like a comforting but powerful spirit to them, that they notice like, oh shit, But I got a quick precept here. This is a book of Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 19. It says, ye shall keep my statutes, full stop. Okay. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Going back to
Slack, just breaking news. It says drone strikes Netanyahu's home in Israel while IDF continues operations in Gaza, Lebanon. Damn.
hey, Brakaya, how about Shem Yahushai?
Hey.
Hey, this is all going into what? Prophecy, man. Right? The least of the flock is going to draw them out. You've seen all these things happening. We've been said that this was going to happen. All right,
Right.
according to biblical prophecy. And now we're seeing it all happen. But remember, Yahushua said, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars."
Right.
Right? These are all war things, war tactics. Like, what if he would have died in there? You know, what if they would have smoked his ass out? Then now what? You know what I mean? And it's going to happen eventually. You know, because normally when you have a person that is so brash and so quick and arrogant like that, normally they're heading straight to their fall.
Right.
You know, normally typically they come in with top speed like Alexander. He ruled for 12 years, then he died. But those 12 years was high impact heat. You know? But then after that, the Lord's like, yeah, you're done. You out of here. You've done your job. You know? So maybe Netanyahu, the Lord is using him to bring everyone in. And the Lord might just smoke his ass up out of there. Once the war gets uncontrollable, it goes nuclear.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? You know, but hey, that devil, he got to go down. And that's a sign that the Lord is not fucking with you devils, man. Because if you God's chosen people, why is your home? I thought you're going to be, you know, protected from all these things. What's going on? Huh? What's going on, BB? All right, now. So going back to Leviticus, there's going to be more to come out of that one right there. That what you just read, there's going to be more that's going to be coming out of that. You know, we're going to be paying attention to that as well. All right. So going back to Leviticus 19 and verse 19, it says, ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Right. So like you were saying, how Esau always, you know, putting a tiger and a tiger and a lion, making a liger. You're not supposed to do that. The scripture's telling you right here. All right. This is part of the laws. See? So if anything, you could look at society today and say, nah, the people who have power are not God's chosen people because they do everything contrary to the Heavenly Father's ways.
Right.
But if you go into certain small little parts in different parts of the world where there's Jake predominantly, they still keep the laws of the Bible to a degree.
Yep.
You know, certain customs that they have, like circumcision. That's Esau don't push that. He don't keep that. That's a Jake custom by nature. You know, where do we get that? If we're just slaves, just out here in Africa, roaming about in the streets in the jungle somewhere, guess what? If that was the case, Esau would have never came to meet no people in the first place. All right. When we were back in Africa, we had order, we had laws. We were keeping the statutes and commandments to a degree. Yeah, you had Jake that was being wicked. Shit, the natives coming over here, they was doing wicked shit. But does that denounce the fact that they're Israelites? No, it does not. Because yeah, they're wicked, but they're still wicked Israelites. You know, you can't take that away just because they're wicked. You see, they practice wickedness. They're not the sons of the wicked. The wicked, Esau, Edom, he don't got no righteousness in him. It's impossible for him to do that. And his works are evident of that. Okay. So anyway, continuing, it says, "Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed." Right. In the ancient world, you have a cornfield. All you're gonna see is corn. You're not gonna see corn, and then you probably have beans and lentils. No, you have specific crops for specific land. You know, if this is an orange farm, all you're gonna see is orange. If this is apples, all you're gonna see is apples. That's how everything was back in the ancient world, right? Even to a degree, if you go to an organic, authentic farmer, he'll tell you that there's mechanisms behind it. There's a reason why you don't put different seeds in the same soil, because some of them take out the nutrients of the soil a lot more than others, right? If you plant, like, let's say, I'll give you an example. If you have a small little garden, right, and you plant zucchini, you plant spinach, you plant kale, right, in the same box over there, guess what? The zucchini is going to outgrow all the other crops around it, right? Why? Because they grow faster, because they're the zucchini that bears on the tree, on the plant, all right, it gets very, very big. So their leaves grow and they pretty much take over the whole entire space. Okay, so if you have spinach and kale, they're not going to do well. So it's better if you have a whole it's better if you have just a part that's just for zucchini. So then they grow and then they do what they got to do, and you have spinach and then you have kale on its own. That way, you go into this field, you know what you're getting. You go into that field, you know what you're getting. You know. You go into a cornfield, it's all corn. America has that. You drive miles and it's just corn the whole time. Miles and miles of corn. You know? Anyway, so continue, it says, neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. Okay, so that's a statute. See, that's a statute. The Lord is saying that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to mix fabrics. Right? And the same thing is written in Deuteronomy 22. And verse 11, it says,
what was the materials it mentioned?
It says linen and wool. That's what you read about.
Same thing. Like,
that's exactly. Yep.
There you go. So,
yep.
Is that coincidence? The Lord
No.
just threw, he just threw out two materials just by coincidence, right? Come on.
So that science is just catching up to Eve. Science is just catching up to what the Lord already been had laid out. They got Esau got to do it to study 10,000 subjects and this and that. How about you just listen to the Most High to begin with? Make it simple.
You got it, bro.
Yeah, just finishing it off in Deuteronomy 22. Pretty much what we just read in Leviticus 19 is what's reiterated, but the point here is in the 11th verse where it says, "Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together."
Hmm?
Okay, once again, those two same fabrics being brought up because, like you said, they have the highest megahertz, what, 5,000? So
Yep.
if you were to wear those two, they cancel each other out. They might cause some harm, really,
Yep.
to the body and to the
Yep.
mind, to the spirit. You know, so that's why the Lord is specifically saying, don't do that shit. You know? You know, the Lord is specifically saying, don't do that shit. Don't wear that shit. But guess what? You go into an American store, they have 50% this, 50%. They don't even, they add more to it. It's not just woolen and linen. No, they have polyester in there. They got a little cotton in there, you know? And it's mixed 15% this, 15% that, 25%. You're like, bro, you know? So then now you're in a state of confusion. You're mixing all these different things. Now you wonder why these women are bugged the hell out. Their panties that they wear, we can imagine what kind of shit they got in there. The bra that they wear, you can imagine what kind of fabrics they use for that. They damn sure not using no linen. Because these females are bugged the hell out. Ain't no peace in their minds. You know what I'm saying? The clothing that they wear, the things that they put in their bodies, the lotion, the this, the makeup, bro, the chemicals in there, boy, look at here. They're creating demons with these things, man. So now we're not shocked why these females in Babylon act the way they act. It's so foreign compared to other women out there. You know, different nations, they got some sanity because they keep it simple. Over here, they got the Kim Kardashians, they got the Meg Stallion, who's a nigga. They got all these different men that have become women wearing shit to confuse all these young women out here. You know, shit is sick, man. But you brothers got it.
Yeah, can you hear us or is the background too loud? You can hear us? Okay. Yeah, so hey, but just like you were saying, man, and that's why Esau does the things that he does. Esau studies these things because ask yourself, wait, there's a study out that says that we just went into, right, about the fabrics. Why wouldn't Esau then go ahead and start pushing it inside of these different clothing brands to start changing the materials that they use so they're not using polyester as much or they're not mixing these fabrics? Why wouldn't he go ahead and do that? Instead, he does the opposite. That's why it says in Psalm 64 that they do a diligent search and the inward thought of every one of them is wickedness, right? Roughly paraphrasing, because they do the study and they find out this shit is off. Let's use it on the people. Why? Because like Aaron said, we need money. So if we can make you more sick by what you're wearing, then guess what? You're going to come to us and we're going to make money off, number one, the clothes you're buying. And by making money off of you, you're going to make us even more money. You come and buy our clothes that make you sick so you can come and buy our meds that keep you sick. And then you can go and eat the food that gets you even more sick. So you see how how Esau Edom sets up the whole entire he sets up the whole entire system to do anti-health. Because how is it that you got all this advanced technology and yet you have more sick people now than you did at the time when you didn't have this technology? And the Most High created, first off, he made us self-sustainable. If we needed this level of technology to survive, the Most High would have given it to us back in the garden. Because you're not even supposed to be getting sick like that. Being sick is supposed to be like a rarity. And really, it should be something like you actually broke your leg. You know what I'm saying? Like your bone snapped, you twisted your ankle. Like these are the kind of infirmities that you really should be dealing with. But when it comes to like a common cold, these are things your immune system is designed to fight. And so you can think, okay, why is it that every time it's normal around this time of the year, you're going to get sick. You're going to get the flu. You're going to get this cough. You're going to get this. That's not normal. You know, that's not how you're designed to be. But if your immune system is trying to fight, but your clothes that you're wearing are weakening your immune system. The fillings that they're putting in your teeth is leaking mercury vapor into your body. And that's causing less oxygen to go around to your cells. And therefore, now you're getting even more sick, right? It's weakening your immune system as well, slowing down the production of those those white blood cells and so on. Guess what? Your immune system is like, yo, I'm trying to do my job, but I can't. You're taking out my tonsils. Now my body's like, what the fuck? He just throwing punches at me. I can't see shit coming. You know, that's what Esau does because the sicker you are, the richer he is. He doesn't like to give you cures. Get a cure. As a matter of fact, he'll go as far as to disprove a natural cure in instead of a treatment, and say, "Hey, come get this treatment instead." You know, we'll put you on a nice plan. You know what I'm saying? We'll give you the refills, and then what does that also do? Then that gives me room to have insurance companies, right? I'm gonna overprice these health costs. I'm gonna overprice these financial and car related costs, so that way you come and buy insurance. You can go 5 years without getting into an accident, and you're paying how much money in insurance? You know, life insurance, nigga. What? You got life insurance, and here it is. You live perfectly well, but you need it. So you're just giving me money just so you can live. Just keep on living while you're giving me money. I'm making money off of you living, off of you breathing air. But once again, that's where the propaganda comes in. You never know what can happen to you. What if you're walking down the street and you trip and break your knees? You know what I'm saying? They give you the most unrealistic situations and they scare that into your mind. Oh, I gotta go get the health insurance. That's how Esau moves, man. It's all about money at the end of the day. My God is money.
Wi-Fi, 5G,
Yep.
messing people up.
Yep.
And even when that technology was being developed decades before it was made public. And there was a lot of whistleblowers that said, yo, if you do this, they already saw what happens is that those type of signals, it elicits an immune response from your body because it's foreign. So your body's like, whoa, something's happening. Immune response. And then after being exposed to that, your immune system keeps responding. But after a while, your immune system has a certain amount of resources to use, just like anything. And after so many immune responses, what happens? The response is weaker over time, weaker over time. That's why people, they get sick now and they be fucked up,
Yeah.
like dying, in the middle of the bus or the train or wherever you at, or out in the open. And then and then they pull out that pack of Newport, start, and they start smoking.
Mhm.
But anyway, and then there's somebody with a Newport come up to us and try to tell us how to teach the Bible.
Yep.
But you don't even honor yourself. You don't even love yourself, man.
Yep.
That's not the love of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. See, you're supposed to honor your temple, man.
Yeah, he killing himself, but he trying to tell us how to live. And what that does with that Wi-Fi is the reason it's called, like, they add the G at the end, right? It's going to gigahertz. Once again, it's a frequency. But the problem is, like you said, we're dealing here with electromagnetic frequency, and that's basically how fast the electrons are moving inside of your Wi-Fi device, and that radiates a radio frequency. Those radio frequencies, as this electron is moving, is also generating radiation. Okay, and that radiation is going through. Wi-Fi actually goes through your body. Okay, it goes through these objects here. I forget if it's because the atoms are big enough or small enough, but they're actually able to go through objects. That's how you have a router in your room, and then it goes through the walls, and then it gets to your other devices. It goes through you as well. So, like you were saying, it's going to pass through you, and the radiation that comes along with it is going to come through as well. And then you wonder, why is Esau creating all these things to be wireless? They moved away from the wired headphones to now the wireless headphones. Well, guess what? What do wireless headphones use? They also use some form of a Wi-Fi protocol, because in order for this piece to talk to your phone, there got to be some radio waves being sent, and now it's directly inside your ear. So you're wondering, everything is going wireless, Internet of Things, IoT. So they all talk to each other, and then the more wireless devices you have in your house that are smart devices, that means they have to talk to each other. That means there's more radiation in your house. So you're getting more technologically advanced and also sicker.
Well,
Yep, it is a web.
And there's a right-hand side of it. Like they found certain pyramids they dug up. They found that it had negative ions all around the pyramid. So basically, it caused people to be healed. So there's Esau doing this on the left hand, but in the kingdom, we're gonna have it on the right hand. You're gonna have fields that's gonna heal. That's why the nations, they're gonna want to come to us, because just from being around us in our cities, you're gonna be healed.
Right.
Even if you're around the vicinity, you ain't even gonna come in unless you're bringing us something, because they might have to come in to serve us. But just from being in the vicinity of where we at and where our structure's at, they're gonna be healed, because everything that the Lord is gonna show us how to do things in a righteous sense, to where it goes with life. It's parallel to life, not perpendicular to life, which is what Esau does. But I got a precept right here. Isaiah 32:6. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy. So everything he practices is hypocrisy. He speaks things that's upside down. Surely you're turning the things upside down should be esteemed as the potter's clay. So everything Esau does is anti-life. That's anti-Messiah, because Yahweh Shai is the bread of life, right? So anything that's against Yahweh Shai is going to represent death. And that's what Esau represents. You want to say something?
Yeah. So, done with that.
Yeah. Isaiah 32:6 again, it says, and to utter error against the Lord, right? When you making clothes that with mixed fabrics, when you making GMOs, when you're uttering error against the Lord, when you're trying to subvert the normal sexual relations of a man and a woman, which creates life, that's such a basic thing that people should understand. But yet you go around and ask these people, they don't even understand that now. That's how you know Esau's manipulation has led to people being in a state of psychosis, man. They're psychotic people that are just walking around the earth, man, going to CVS, down the grocery store right next to you in the line, and they're psychotic. And we got to be amongst these people, you see? But the Lord is going to deliver us from these strange waters, man, from these strange children. See? But Isaiah 32:6, it says, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. That's dealing with Esau, man. You know, they're uttering error against the Lord, and that's our people. You know, and we're thirsting for that knowledge, also physical food and bread, food and water. You got food deserts in the city, man. You got places where the projects is at. You can't find actual produce, meaning fruits and vegetables, fresh produce, for miles and miles. So all they have access to is bodega food, beef patties and deli cold cuts, and GMO snacks, which is nothing. It's no nutritional substance. You see, and then you wonder why you go to the hood, Jake be bugging out, because the food that they put in their bodies is a fucked up frequency. Everything is off of frequency and vibration. You gonna say something?
Yeah, Khan, that's a great point you just mentioned, because I was actually looking into that a couple of days ago, and I found out that them deli meats, them cold cut. I found out that a lot of the stuff that you see on the shelves now, they have these chemicals that is actually, when you actually go back and you look into it, it goes back to antifreeze and all these different things. I'm like, bro, how they gonna put antifreeze in food and shit and drinks that people drink? There's a drink, alcoholic drink called, it has a demon on it. Fire something, fireball, yeah. And it has like a red demon on it. Apparently, that shit has high levels of antifreeze in it, right? The chemical that they use for that shit is antifreeze, right? And then the food coloring, right, is taken from this parasite bug. It's like a very parasitic bug, and then they dry it. They take the heads of it, they dry it, and then they crush it, and then they mix it with water and the same type of solution, and it extracts all that coloring. Now, it doesn't just extract the
Selling
coloring;
that
it
in the
also,
grocery stores right now.
what's that?
Right.
They selling that fireball in the regular corner stores.
Yeah.
This CBS one.
Where Jake's be at, you know.
Last
And then
week.
they have the they extract the coloring and the chemicals in there, and they mix it in with the food. Like you buy, you feed your kids these Fruit Loops and all that stuff. That shit is all mixed in there, man. You know, why you think all these kids are children are bugged out? You know, autism at an all-time high. Children suffer from cancer, all kinds of different stuff that is very unusual. But the American people are not putting together and say, "Yo, time out, what's going on?" It says FDA organic, so that means it's good. Well, guess what? The people who are in the FDA, they have a profit to make if they pass these dangerous foods, because guess what? Because of something known as lobbyists, right? They can come in and say, "Look, you just let it go, and I will pay you $1 billion or whatever." You know what I'm saying? And then guess what? They tied in with Big Pharma, so Big Pharma is making a cut from your sicknesses. You see, so it's just a world of a mess. It's a mess that needs to get cleaned up. That's why it says we're gonna have a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. All this wicked shit is not gonna be here no more. Okay, there'll be no Esau doing all this Frankenstein foods. People put up videos and they go to a Walmart or whatever. They come back home with a piece of banana, and then they cut the shit, and they see the fucking bananas crawling and shit on the top. I'm like, what the fuck? You know? They take a piece of tomato, they slice it, they put it in water, and that motherfucker starts sliding and shit. Like, yo, what's going on, bro? You know? You take a watermelon, you slice it, and it's like mush. Like, what they got in these stores? How is this happening? You know? And then you say something called the FDA. The FDA, man, you gotta do some research on the FDA, man. All right, all these alphabet agencies, you gotta do research on them. Okay, because those are the ones that Esau is using to push all this weirdo shit that you people are dealing with. Okay, everyone's got to deal with it. They come after the organic farmers. They say, oh, you know, the way you're growing your farm, the way you have your animals is not humane or whatever. It's not up to standard. It's not up to code. So it's either you're going to do it our way by pumping these chemicals in their food, or else you're going to have to shut down. And a lot of these farmers, they don't have the capital to go to court and be battling every single 2 weeks or 2 months or so. So they end up just shutting down, or they get arrested and then nobody hears about it. The media is not going to talk about it, so it's just dead. They could kill you for all they care, and nothing ever comes out of it. All this unrighteousness, man. You know what I'm saying? But all this shit, guess what? It's so much to the point where Esau is now losing the battle because people are like, yo, we're tired of this. People are waking up like, yo, they sign ain't right. And what the men of the Lord are saying is so true because we're actually witnessing it. At first, it wasn't like at their doorstep, so they didn't really care. But now that it's happening in their actual lives, now they see it. Right? Did not the Lord talk about He's going to break the staff of the of bread? That's all you see. All that the shit that you're seeing right now is all part of it. Okay, the economy is a mess right now. You know, all these things that's happening, the famines, all these different things, the pestilences, right? All these natural disasters. These are all things that the Lord said He's going to do to this place that we were warning people about for years. Okay, and now they're happening. So what makes you think everything we said about these secret societies, these agencies, all these things that they do is not all true? It's not all coming out now. See, it's all coming out. It's all coming out, and that's why they're battling and they're pushing this thing called misinformation. Some made up shit, and you got people actually using that word like it's an actual thing. Oh, it's misinformation. No, it's truth. It just goes against the narrative that they want to push. That's why they call it misinformation. It's just that simple. It used to be conspiracy theory, but they noticed, damn, people listen to these conspiracy theories, man. So let's just call it misinformation, you know? But it's still not working, all right? And it's all going to go all the way till the end when the MOTB comes out, man. They're going to call that, oh, the biggest misinformation in the world. But guess what? We're going to stand on that because we know everything that's written in the scriptures is exactly what it is, and it's going to come to pass, all right? So you got it, bros.
Right now, speaking of all the wickedness that the wicked is out here creating, and it's pretty much a web of deceit and lies. And it's an old saying called what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. And that's what they're doing right now. The web that's tangled is a whole bunch of lies based on deception, like with the cereals, like you mentioned, all right, and like with the 5G that the brother Ashiar was mentioning, all right, and that tangled web is lies and deceit, but they were put on this earth to do that, cause lies and deceit. As far as Job 9:24 is concerned, when it says the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. But the quick pre I wanted to bring out is when the time comes, that's going to be put away with. But right now we're dealing with the wicked and their deceit, and this is Proverbs chapter 29 verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourneth. Right. So like I was saying, when the new system come in, when the kingdom come in, we ain't gonna be wearing mixed garments, with polyester and different fabrics. Right now we got all these mixed fabrics, and we in this world mourning through sickness and death, and that's because the wicked is in rule right now. So Lord willing, the time come when we come up out of that. But yeah, man, they definitely practicing lies and deceit because they'll tell you, yeah, this is 100% cotton and 100% wool, and they'll tell you that that's good for your skin when we broke down how linen and wool can't be coincide together because the cancel is healing quality. But yeah, that's it, bro.
That's it. Yep. Got another one. Isaiah 32:7, continuing on, it says, the instruments also of the churl are evil. The churl is basically dealing with a wicked man, right? He deviseth wicked devices. So again, everything we've been describing has been him devising these wicked devices. Because the way they present a lot of this information is like accidentally, through ignorance, somehow this got through through Esau's protocols, his quality control, it escaped somehow, and we weren't able to, reel it in. There's different type of technologies and poison that got out here. Oh, it's just a mistake. No, it was done purposefully. It was studied. It was known that it has a certain effect that destroys life, and then it's produced to the masses, mass produced and spread out to the masses, and publicized and marketed for the fiends out there. All right, because all these people are basically fiends, man. But different, even Esau got us kind of fucked up. Because there's certain foods and things, it's not the substance of it, it's the taste, and there's chemicals he puts in to make you addicted. Like sugar. And sugar, a lot of time when you crave sugar, it's because you got parasites in your body, and the parasites want the sugar. Like Tropical Smoothie Cafe, I just found out recently, I used to go to them for smoothies, and I'm like, damn, these smoothies are good as shit. How they make them? And then I look, and I'm thinking it's a smoothie place. What could they possibly? They put sugar in the smoothie. Why you need to put sugar in a smoothie? Fruit already has sugar. So I stopped going there. Or if I go there, I tell them, yo, don't put no sugar in there. But they don't tell you that, unless you ask or you look into it. Meanwhile, you could put agave syrup a little bit, and that has it's way more sweet, and it's natural, and it actually heals your body. So the Lord has his own candy in nature. Dates, fruits, watermelons, different things like that. But what does he give you? This is some processed shit that he can make and make billions of dollars off of it. See? But where are the so-called Christians to call all this out? Esau spraying the skies with chemtrails so that the sun can get blocked out so we don't get vitamin D, which boosts our immune system. This is the doings of Esau Edom. So how is he not the problem? And how are so-called Christians not calling him out? You see? But hey, the Lord said, let me grab it real quick. I'll get back to that. But Psalms 94, I'll turn right to the page. Psalms 94 and 16, who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? See? Ultimately, the Lord is going to stand up for us, but he's putting a spirit on us to stand up against it. So by preaching this word, we're spitting right in Satan's face, man. Well, Esau Edom, I should say. Right in their face. And this is a slap in the face in the spirit. So that's why we got to keep continuing to come out and preach this and exposing them. See? And the message that we have is not controlled by them. It's not controlled by them. It's controlled by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. See? All right, yeah, back row, I had Isaiah 32. All right. Isaiah 32 and 7, I read from the top. The instruments also of the churl are evil. He deviseth wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words.
There you go, with lying words. And that's what all these commercials are about. It's all lying words. Because what they'll do is, they might even tell you things that are not factual. And they try to lie, what's the word? Plausible deniability is one of the things they use. So they'll phrase it in a way where if you don't know what you're looking at, then you can't tell that what they're saying really isn't correct. Like the brother said, right? 100% cotton. But that's according to what they deem cotton is, right? So you're not going to go look into that. Who determines what 100% cotton is? All these things are subjective, but they make it look like it's objective. They'll state a opinion to you, that a widely agreed upon opinion, and then they'll make it seem like it's fact. And who are you to challenge that? So they use a lot of these lies in deceptive forms to get you to buy their products, and then they sway your mind away from the fact that it's their products that's making you sick. And then they'll make you think, no, it's just because you're not going to the gym. So now you should go to the gym. Come pay me more money. Right?
Natural flavors.
Yeah, natural and artificial flavors. What's that? What the hell is natural and artificial flavors? Tell me what the flavor is.
Beaver anus, that's the flavor.
What is it?
And beaver anus, that's the flavor.
Hey, but that's not a joke. That's not a joke. They actually use the beaver anus to coat candies, like those M&Ms and those those kind of hard candies and stuff like that, caramel candies. You're looking at the candy, shit looking nice and shiny, smells all good and shit. Well, there's a beaver that had to come into play. You know, and
They had to abuse the beaver.
yeah, abuse the beaver.
God damn.
But that's what they're doing, man. And then you wonder. No wonder it says that the inward thought of every one of them is wicked, because who like, how did you even stumble across this? You know, that's the first, like, what experiments and what came to your mind to think of all animals get a beaver? How would you know what is in a beaver's anus and why candy? You know, well, it ain't for your benefit.
That shows you the spiritual demon Satan be working with him. He sort of come up with this shit, like the atom bomb.
Yeah, yeah,
That's another thing. Like, who comes up with that? That's the Most High putting a spirit through this left hand to really make him do all this crazy shit. You like, yo, why is this guy doing this shit? Esau be doing some shit. You be like, what the fuck? Like, they be crawling in the caves and shit. Head first
Yeah,
into
yeah,
a
yeah.
cave. You seen the
Yeah.
video? The dude died in the cave upside down.
Yep.
You know?
And they said those caves were known for being tight. Nigga goes in there at first. For what? What the fuck? Like, that whole, you hear a lot of these activities that predominantly a lot of Edomites like to do that result in a lot of injury and death. And yet they still like to do it. You know, like those steep ass rock climbing shits. Okay, it's one thing if you go to like the little centers, you do a little climbing and thing, right? But we're talking about like them Edomites, they go so hard. They go to like them ones that go opposite and shit, like some crazy ass stunts.
They
What's that?
rock climbing. They rock climbing.
Yeah, they rock climbing. Hey, wow.
Cave dwelling ass niggas, man.
Take them back to Petra.
Ice climbing. Ice climbing with an ice pick.
Oh yeah.
Nigga crazy.
Man in the field.
You know?
Wasn't it an Edomite that tried to go up the Mount Everest and he died or some shit?
I think I heard something like that.
Yeah, like multiple Edomites, and they still got his corpse over there because it's so cold up there. I'm like, the nigga just walked up straight to his death. It's just I don't understand these devils, bro.
Yeah.
But speaking of not understanding these devils, right? Real quick, I got some information here going into how things are happening quick and everything is leading to the MOTB, right? Check this out. It says we were just talking about 5G, right? I sure we bringing up 5G and all that. Check this out. New 6G test achieves unprecedented download speeds 5,000 times faster than 5G.
Hey.
It says with a download speed of 938 Gbps, which I'm assuming will be gigabytes per second.
Yep.
You could download a full movie in less than a second.
Bruh. That's
Listen to this. It says researchers from the University College London have achieved a groundbreaking advancement in 6G technology, transmitting data at a speed of 938 gigabytes per second, which is over 9,000 times faster than current 5G connections. It says by utilizing a broader spectrum from 5 gigahertz to 150 gigahertz, they combine radio waves and light to maximize transmission speeds. This speed could enable things like downloading a movie, 50 gigabytes Blu-ray quality movie in just 1 second, paving the way for the future of the ultra high-speed communication network. And guess what? This is all part of the Internet of Things. So they're setting up the Internet of Things to be able to facilitate for the Internet of Bodies. Okay? They talk about something known as tokenization. All these different things that they keep saying. They want to basically merge you people to technology. When you see Elon Musk come out and says something about Optimus robots and all that extra stuff, those robots are there to let you be familiar with them because soon they're going to be governing you. Okay? All this 5G and all, this 6G. 5G ain't even like fully expressed yet. 6G already. You see? When 5G comes with all its problems, imagine what 6G is going to bring. And the number 6 is right in front of it too. So we already know what that number signifies.
Yep.
You know, but I just want to bring that out to show you again, we're in those times, man. Every single day, scripture says what? And knowledge shall increase. Right? When you go into the word knowledge, it goes into science, right? Ciencia, knowledge, to know. Okay? So Esau is advancing in his scientific, technological prowess. And what is he using it for? Psalm 64? He's using it for wickedness, man. That's all he's using it for. Okay? And it's all going to fail at the end of the day any damn way. All right? But you got it, bros.
Hey, but it all comes with a catch. You know, like with a higher bandwidth, okay, you can do all these things, but whatever drawbacks came with using 5G, you can imagine that much more coming with using 6G. You know,
So we need lead vest. Remember, we used to go and take X-rays. Y'all can wear that lead vest to stop the radiation from going through you. You're gonna have to have a wear suit just to use your phone.
but there's a reason, right? Because as they're introducing those BCIs, brain computer interfaces, they need to match the pace at which your brains are firing off those neurons. You know, because your brain, the interface is supposed to interact with your brain. So if your brain is sending signals, like if they gave you a bionic eye, and this eye is going to send signals to this chip, and the chip is going to convert it into actual electrical signals to your brain, then that chip needs to be, and that eye needs to be able to operate at the same or a faster frequency than your brain. Or else you're going to be seeing things like the car is here, you think the car is over there, because your bionic eye is not sending the information back fast enough. You're about to walk into a building. It's like experiencing lag in real life. You know, where you see the building here, and the next thing you know, your head is in it. You're like, well, I thought the building was like that. 3 kilometers away, because your bionic eye ain't working right. So they're trying to achieve that level for seamless I/O, as this guy called it, right? Input and output. Elon Musk said that seamless I/O between man and machine, and what that's trying to do is trying to understand and really hack the Lord's creation more and more and more, because they understand technology, but it's harder to understand the biological processes. So if they can then, start to slowly link technology with man, they can then control man through technology, because technology can better understand these processes. And if they can control the technology, then they can control you. There's a new game that came out called Off the Grid. And Off the Grid, what the game is about is a battle royale like Fortnite. But what they do in this is that they have participants that go to this off grid area, and they cut off, like they do this they do this experimentation on them. So they cut off their limbs and then they replace it with bionic parts. And these guys go on the battlefield and they shoot each other, kill each other. And what they do is they found a way to resuscitate, and not even just resuscitate, but revive people that died. So if you die, they just regrow you back again. As long as they have at least one cell, they can regrow your brain, your body, and everything, and bring you right back to life and throw your ass back onto that field. So, and that's through the merging of man and technology. And this devil is accustoming people to that. So all those movies you watched and cartoons when you were a kid, and you saw the robots walking around, iRobot, right? And you saw the talking dog, right? At that playing the role of a barista when you go into the freaking club and shit, right? All that is about to be reality very soon. Those movies of Planet of the Apes, soon you're gonna be seeing them talking animals, And you wonder, whoa, what this thing just talk? Yeah, okay. What they do? They took the brain waves, they took a sound device, and they converted those animal brain waves that are similar to ours into actual speech. And so the animal got a little speaker on his chest, and you go to it, and it's talking to you. So when a dog says wolf, what kind of wolf? Is it saying hello? Is it angry? Is it saying back up? Now you're talking to the dog. Esau is doing all of these things. That's why they were considered miracles that he had ability to do in the sight of the beast. But these miracles are going against nature. He's not using these miracles to forward righteousness, using it to go against nature to establish his own world, because he wants to play God. But he's really playing make-believe,
They gonna upload your ass straight to the spirit realm.
straight up. Like in that movie, is it Upload? The movie, the TV show, I think it's called Upload, where they when you die, they send you to that digital world.
Download your body to the grave.
Yeah. Hey, that's what they're doing. Artificial immortality, Anyway, where are we at? Revelation 21?
So,
All right.
this book of Revelation 21 and 2, and it reads,
Hey, but it's also interesting, right? Today we think about how it's funny because even us, though we're young, you can think back to like the 2009, 2010s and be like, yo, I remember when having a BlackBerry was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? That's the joint. They got a black, and now you're like, yo, now they got freaking glasses, meta glasses. You know what I'm saying? that you can see is augmented reality. You can see and look up things with just your glasses alone. You know, you got phones right now. You got ChatGPT that's freaking out here, and you're like, damn, that was in my lifetime. That was just what a couple decades ago. So when you look back and you look at like during the 50s or even back then when they had a computer was like the size of a car because they had to put all these big ass transistors and all of that. And now you look at where we at now, you're like, damn, that's a big advancement. But when we're in the kingdom, the way we look at that old tech, people had to use the landlines, the big giant phones and shit, the way we look at that now is how we're going to be looking at this advanced tech in the kingdom. We're going to be like, man, we thought this was advanced because Esau, the people that come up with these technological advances, they study a lot of these things, right? And at the core of it all, it comes from having a good foundational understanding of actual elements, electricity. You know what I'm saying? The magnetic field and even motors, how these work. It's all based on the manipulation of elements, right? Out of nature. So you got to have that solid understanding. We don't have that. So when we see a phone, we're like, oh, it's shit like magic, But in the kingdom, when we have a deep understanding of how these things work, we're going to be like, man, this is the best you can come up with, Put that to the side. Let me show you how it's really done.
Even with these luxury cars, if I may, even with these luxury cars, man, the most fanciest Bugatti, Ferrari, it's still rolling on rubber tires with air in it. That's primitive.
Yeah.
That's primitive when you really look at it. That's what
dealing with gravity.
That's one thing my
Yeah.
pops had told me. He said, yeah, all these cars are really like a nail in the tire and that's it.
Mhm.
But how advanced is it? You know what he said? He said, show me a spaceship, then I'll be impressed.
Mm.
That was spirit. I was just coming in the truth too. But yeah, that'll be a chariot, a real chariot.
Mhm.
All these little cars and boats. Come on, man. This is all primitive. But Esau purposefully keeps things on a primitive level and he keeps the good shit for himself.
Mhm.
They already got crazy technology,
They got jetpacks and all that.
jetpacks and beyond. Now they just now kind of like releasing that, but they say the military is 25 years ahead
Yeah.
of the public.
Mhm.
But who knows what the hell Esau got in them deep underground bunkers, man?
Yeah, invisibility cloaks. They got all
Yeah.
that. It's just about bending light.
Yep.
The all those things they show you in those advanced Call of Duty games. They'll press a button and then they'll go like invisible,
Yep.
or they'll be able to run with the super speed and shit. They got that technology. How do you wonder how do they describe it in such detail in these games? They go down to like the actual design of these things. You wonder like, yo, you ain't just make this shit up. Like there got to be some backing here.
Comics like Captain America's a super soldier.
Yeah.
But they've been had that.
Mm-hmm. Wolverine.
They showed you them guys that the dudes that was chopping off. It was so called ISIS, but we know that's all set up by Esau.
Mhm.
They was chopping off the heads of Christians.
Oh.
But they said all of them so-called Ishmaelites was like 6'6", bro. Go to that part of the world, they ain't that tall, bro. So they were probably GMO soldiers,
Mhm.
genetically modified men.
Right.
That's who the Lord is going to have us go up against. Or I should say they're going to go up against us.
Right.
We're going to kick their ass, man.
That comes
That
from
FP.
got. Yeah, right. That's what they got. That's all the experimentation. The studying of like starfish, the regeneration, and then they tried it on mice. They said it works. That's what they do. That's why they call them lab rats. The term lab rats comes from actual rats, right, in a lab. So they test it out over there. They're like, okay, this thing's looking nice. Now let's start experimenting in humans. And a lot of those experiments going with the military. Captain America was an experiment, and he just came out. Okay, he's looking good. Doing them, create them Wolverines, create them Deadpool. So they're doing all these things. Who?
Weapon X.
Yeah, Weapon X. Anyway, let's go back into that. This book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 2, and it reads, "And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven." We're just talking about Israel, right? The Apostle John saw the Israelites coming down. Go ahead. "Prepared as a bride adorned for her husband." Right, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Now, when you look at a bride on the wedding day, prepared, she's looking on point, makeup on point, dress on point, on fleek. You know what I'm saying? She's looking nice and good, nice and ready. So the equivalent of the elect looking like that is gonna be us in them new bodies, us, perfect. Okay, perfect. We're gonna come down nice and ready. And then you know, and we're gonna want Esau to resist. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna want them to come with it. There's a reason the Lord's gonna put the spirit on them to do that. Because having had this, you know, this new experience, you know, these new bodies, new sense of perception, you can actually feel power within yourself. You know, somebody that can jump real high or punch real hard, they feel that power within them, and they know how to channel it. You know, you look at Mayweather, for example. That's an actual dog. That's crazy. It's like a person. But anyway, Mayweather, he's about to throw like a hard punch. He knows how to channel that. He knows he has that power. You know, he just got to boom, throw it. Somebody that can jump real high, they know how to, you know, it's like having springs inside of their legs, you know, and then boom, they can go up. Well, being able to fly, being able to shoot beams out your eyes and all of those things, we're going to have that, and we're going to know how to use it. So when you know, when we come down from them ships and put things in the righteous order, of course it's going to be a takeover, you know, a very merry takeover. Got it? Okay. Yeah, takeover. That's right. Yep.
And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men,
hmm
and he will dwell with them.
Yeah, because it starts with the men. All right, the women are there to as helpmeets. Okay, and their joy should come from taking care of their men, and in return, their men take care of them. Okay, but all this being on the front lines, trust me, that's not somewhere you want to be. Because when you're on the front lines, then you got to be committed to it. But they only want to be on the front lines when it's fun and it looks cool. But what about the other time? Anyway, go ahead.
And he will dwell with them,
hmm
and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them,
hmm
and be their God.
hmm
And God shall
You
wipe
see, the Most High is with us now, but people don't see it. But in that time, He's going to make it very evident that He is with us, and people are going to see it with their own eyes, and they're going to be in shock. You know, for a good period of time, they're gonna still be wondering if this is real or not. Like, yo, wait, so you got actual people right now that are gods on the earth. Like I'm looking at them, but I still can't believe what I'm looking at right now. You know, guy.
And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes,
hmm
and there shall be no more death,
hmm
neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain.
Right, and that's not a temporary thing. That's gonna be permanent. That's gonna be our new way of living. You know what do we have to sorrow, cry, and these are all things of the lower level mortals. You know, we're not gonna have to worry about that because that's gonna be a part of the old heaven and earth that passed away for us. You know, the rest of the heathens, they're gonna still experience those things, but we are not. We're gonna be changed, and just like the Apostle Paul mentioned, in the twinkling of an eye, just like that, all that is gonna cease. All those vulnerabilities about us are gonna just cease, just like that. God.
For the former things are passed away.
Yeah. So in terms of the world of Israel, those are gonna be former things, death, sorrow, and that's literal. The death part, the sorrow, and all that's literal. Okay. No longer are we gonna be subject to death. Because what? The root cause of death is going to be have been dealt with. Sin. And we're no longer going to sin anymore. Right?
And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto me, Write, for these words are faithful and true.
Right. For these words are faithful and true. So what the apostle, now this is what the apostle John saw and heard. Okay? This is what he saw and heard, and he was told to write it down for us. So we believe that the things that the Apostle John saw and heard are true. He wasn't high off of mushrooms or something like that. You know, these were visions that he received, and he wrote them down. And we're already seeing part of them starting to happen now. So guess what? The rest of the visions that he saw are also going to take place. And Lord willing, he saw some of us up in there. We know he saw, I mean, he was there. He probably saw himself and didn't recognize how how he looked. Right? Where we at? Yeah, read verse 6.
And he said unto me, It is done.
Mm-hmm.
I am Alpha and Omega,
Mm-hmm.
the beginning and the end.
And that's who? That's Yahweh Shai. Right? The Ah and the Tha, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega. Go ahead.
I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely.
Yeah, and the Lord, and we're drinking that now. Okay, but ultimately, as it says, the fountain of the water of life, which comes ultimately first from the scriptures. The scriptures say that what is that? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And the Lord said, "What? The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. The spirit quickeneth." Okay, go ahead.
He that overcometh shall inherit all things.
He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and that's what we're aiming to do. That was in that verse. Okay, and that's what we're hoping to be at, right? The ones that overcome through the blood of Yahweh Shai. Go ahead.
And I will be his God, and he shall be my son.
There you go. And that's us going back to the state that we fell from. Okay, the giants that fell from their first estate. Well, now the Lord is going to take us back and even better, right? And that's pretty much it on that. Brothers, got anything? You got anything?
Yeah, I was going to say if you could finish it off with the 8th verse. All
Okay.
right, pretty much sums it all up.
Verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
There you go. So and when you look at it, all the things that were mentioned, the fearful, the unbelieving, the abominable, the murderers, the whoremongers, the sorcerers, the idolaters. When you read Revelation 18, pretty much similar things were said over there too. Right? And it's all going into what? The destruction ultimately of America, because all those spirits who carry on this fearfulness, the unbelieving, the sorcery, it's all here in America. You don't got to go far in the world to find out. You come over here, it's all here and it's plastered. You go to Times Square, debauchery everywhere. You go to Cali, debauchery everywhere. You go to any state, it's just weirdo shit going on. And that's going to cause that destruction that's going to hit this place, as the Apostle John said, which is what? The second death. All right, by thermonuclear destruction. Okay, that's what we hope to be delivered from. All right, we Christians talk about being delivered. That's the deliverance. All right, being delivered from this coming destruction from the Heavenly Father, the Almighty. Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Beautiful stuff. Brothers got it from here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, hey, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakah, Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.
Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakah to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.